नमस्ते। मैं आपकी होस्ट सनी फ्रॉम सनी साइड अब से आज लेके आई हूँ अपने साथ डॉक्टर नरेश गिटानी। डॉक्टर इसलिए क्योंकि ये डेंटिस्ट हैं। ऑल हिज लाइफ आई नोन हिम एज अ डेंटिस्ट एंड अब देखो किताबों पे किताबें लिख रहे हैं। सो ही इज बीन राइटिंग बुक्स अबाउट हाउ प्लैनेट्स अफेक्ट आवर लाइव्स एंड द चैलेंज ऑफ द हार्ट। इन्होंने एक और बुक लिखी है, तो आई विल आस्क नरेश टू टेल ourselves. So Naresh, welcome to the channel.
Thank you, Sneh. It's a
And
pleasure.
so tell me a little bit about yourself.
So yes, like you said, my actual training was in dentistry. I've been a dental surgeon for about 35 years. I work mainly in the National Health Service in the UK.
Yeah.
And I retired about 8 years ago.
Too young to retire.
Well, no, I don't think so. It's never too soon to retire. But I had a few interests. The reason I retired early is to pursue those interests, really, to find the time to do other things. And writing was one of my passions anyway, but writing about subjects I already worked on was the priority, really. So astrology, not the whole of astrology, but the bit about the planets has always interested me.
Because being a dentist, that's mean he's very scientific. So science with astrology, that kind of...
Yes, you have to look objectively.
Yes.
Yes.
You know, that's what I'm looking like. Why planets? What really have you always been?
Yes, I have always looked at planets. Actually, anytime any event happens, not just with me, but generally to anybody, any friends or even world events or politicians, and I would always look up the astrology that was going on, which planets were at play for that particular person. And the amount of times I saw certain planets at work that actually transmitted a certain attribute. So violence, for example, somebody dies, somebody gets into a car crash or is hurt, basically some form of injury, mutilation or fatality even, death. Certain planets are at play. So Mars, for example, is at play, but at a higher level, Pluto. So Pluto is just a Mars more powerful, well, the same quality. So I used to notice this. Moon's node is notorious for death, people dying. Moon's node is very notorious for being around in an adverse relationship with another planet.
So you got interested right as a child in this?
Yeah, actually, I was about 12 years old when I read this book, Autobiography of a Yogi.
Okay.
Yeah, and Paramahansa Yogananda.
That is the book.
Yeah, it was a bestseller for many years. And there's magic in that book. If you ask me what particular subject on that interested, no, that book had a magic of making you. Let me tell you, it taught me how to love God. I'm not a religious person, nor am I a godly person.
Yeah.
But at least if I was to meet God, it's Yogananda who taught me how to love Him.
Yes.
Yeah, but Yogananda talked about astrology. He talked about the effect of planets. He actually, in 1950s, gave his own understanding. He said it's actually, the planets have the effect on us through electromagnetic radiation. And you'll find space is full of electromagnetic radiation. And our body cannot make vitamin D has to be made from the sun.
Yes.
When we go into sunlight, that's how we actually end up with vitamin D. So our body has got receptors for this electromagnetic waves. Sunlight is nothing but electromagnetic waves.
Of course.
Yeah. Same with serotonin. Have you heard of serotonin?
Yeah.
That's the chemical that makes you feel good in the mind. As soon as sunlight falls on our retina,
yes, and you feel good about it.
The body starts making serotonin. So it's not like a strange concept that our body is affected by electromagnetic radiation. I could use the word loosely, radiation, but they're waves. Yeah, not all of them are friendly. Some of them are harmful. So I got interested through Yogananda, really into astrology. So I was only about 12 when I started to. In those days, there was no computers, so I had to physically actually plot each planet. It just took me roughly about 2.5, 3 days of working 2-3 hours an evening, doing things and placing the planets in the right positions and actually coming up with a chart. Now I can give you a chart in 10 seconds.
At the computer pe, na?
Yeah, exactly.
So I mean, it's surprising that you talk about Yogananda's book. Yogananda's book was given to me, a friend of mine, in 2015, 2016, when I started getting spiritual.
Right, yes.
So that book was from my schoolmate. He is in Delhi, and he actually sent it through somebody.
Okay.
in a physical book to me and says, "Hey,
Right.
read this,"
Yeah.
and that's how my spirituality started to.
Okay. Was it the same book or was
Yeah,
it? Oh,
it was-
amazing.
I
Yeah,
feel when
it was a
it's-
bestseller in America for
It's
a
still
long,
the
long
best.
time.
I think
It
it's
probably
still
is.
it's
It
still the
probably is.
bestseller.
Yeah. Yeah.
So when you say how planets affect our life, so how do? You need somebody's date of birth.
Well, you see, yes, actually, the concept is this that every moment in time is a unique planetary arrangement, and
It's for every different human being.
every moment has got its own unique genetic pattern. I call it genetic because just like our human body has got genes made of our DNA, every moment in time has got a gene or made up of time genes, and they are made from planetary arrangements. So if somebody was born with Pluto square Mars, that becomes the planetary gene at birth, Pluto square Mars. Now, if during transit that Pluto or Mars is opposed by another planet, the Pluto and Mars
opposite
at
house.
birth, opposite square, then it becomes an adverse impact.
So let me clarify one thing.
Yes.
Twins, right?
Yes.
Twins born.
Yes.
They're literally born at the same
Yes,
time
yes,
with a minute
absolutely.
to 2 minutes
Yes,
difference.
yes.
So would they have a same lifestyle,
Yes,
or
if
would
you-
they have a different?
No, you see, they'll have the same lifestyle based on attributes. So, say for example, I gave you the example of Mars and Pluto. Say that Mars is about aggression in adversity. In adversity, it's about aggression, getting injured, trauma. Pluto is sometimes serious injuries. One twin gets involved in a car crash and gets seriously injured, and the other twin who was not in the car was in another country even. He might get away with a bruise, but he will get a bruise. He will be, that attribute of trauma will be there.
Will be there.
But the intensity is very much, I say this in the book, the intensity depends on the context. So if somebody has got a Mars adverse Pluto and they are on the motorway, the outcome could be quite nasty. Whereas if they are on a playground, they might get away with a bruise.
Yeah.
But the attribute is there. The tendency to get hurt is there.
Okay. So one question have always bothers me about astrology. So some people say your date of birth is when you were conceived by your mother.
Yes.
Some says it is the day you were actually physically came 3D world.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So.
Okay, to me, listen, and I don't even believe in having an accurate time of birth. I don't need an accurate time of birth. A day is good enough because most of the serious planets we look at, they don't move much in 24 hours.
Okay.
Yeah, they don't.
So people, when they ask for a day.
Yeah, just a day is enough.
Date of time and this.
I don't need time because I don't need the time. I don't use the ascendant. It's all these things about the zodiac signs, the ascendant, the midheaven. They're not of any. It's just coincidental efficacy. You make so many reference points that you're going to get some of them right automatically because you created so many reference points. But I'm just looking at strictly just the planet relationships, and that works because I've found the incidence of events significantly are very different statistically speaking. They go beyond the average. See, there's 12 signs in the zodiac, and each average is at about say 12, 8, 96, so say 8 point something percentage. So if something is within that range, then you say, well, that's statistical. It's bound to be, right? If there's 12 horses running in a race, there's a 1 in 12 chance you're going to get it right.
Of course.
Yeah, and if you put a bet on all 12 horses, you get one right, right? And that is what astrology, the vast amount of astrology is doing that.
Right.
They're just putting a bet on everything, and then one comes good, they say, oh, look, this works. But I'm not talking about that.
No.
I'm talking about a higher incidence, much, much higher, like even 40, 50, 60% even.
So in your book, you have used examples of few people.
Yes.
Right? So would you want to talk about that?
Yes, sure. Yes. So in this book, my God, I'm very bad at my memories, but I've worked on a lot in other stuff lately. But I've given real life cases of some significant amounts of cases that were very high profile in their time.
Right.
So I'm not cherry picked. I went for the top case in that category.
Yeah.
So I looked John F. Kennedy as in assassination.
Yeah.
Now it is amazing if you look at his chart. The violence in the chart was showing what actually happened. And if you look at Jacqueline Onassis' chart, what happened to her husband is showing in her chart. how her relationship was affected by that event.
Right.
Yeah, it was. And
So that's when if you
so
have your husband's chart, you can actually see a little bit
if
of
it
what
affects a relationship, yes,
Huh?
if it affects a relationship, yes, it shows. And you can see, and I've given Jacqueline's chart in that too.
Right.
So there was, that case was a high profile case amongst assassinations. I think there's, if you are old enough, all of us remember where we were
Yes.
when we heard that news.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was, I think, 1963, 64, somewhere around that time anyway. But the other cases are considered is Bill Gates divorce.
Yeah.
Yeah. That also was a high profile event in many ways.
Of course,
And it was intriguing because a man who had everything, we can see nobody can have everything. This is one thing life teaches us.
God has to keep one something.
So it was interesting to do the chart. There was a mass shooting, Tuscan, America. You know, a congresswoman, Gabby Giffords. She got shot bang in the middle of head, and she survived miraculously. Because the shot was exactly in the middle of the brain,
Right.
and she came out alive from it. So I had done her chart, but the violence showed, but also the recovery, the strength in her persevering in her recovery, and of course the good fortune of being able to come out of it alive. It was all showing in the charts. It all shows in the charts. So the thing to remember is astrology is not about predicting so much as it is about understanding the attributes of the planets. Because once you understand the attributes of the planet, it doesn't make a difference whether you believe in the planets or not. You don't need to believe in the planets if you don't want to, because we are talking about the attributes. So the attributes we consider for planets, that is what I consider. I've always worked originally from my own research. I don't refer to books. I create my own work from my own research.
Right.
So in the book I created the attributes for 2 per planet. So for example, the sun is health and personality, which most astrology books would agree, and I would say that applies. With the moon, I have said it affects our perceptions and it affects our emotions.
Emotions, definitely. Moon does affect the
Yeah.
emotions.
And then so these are examples of attributes. So the planets will affect us in these attributes. So now you can say, oh, it's God's act. You can say it's random. I don't mind. I don't have a problem with that. So long as we both agree that the attributes do the business.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah.
Now, so just one thing. Now that this Gaza war going on, the people in Gaza are getting,
yes,
bombarded and everything, and they're displaced. So that's when most of the people living there,
yes,
would have that something in their charts.
Yes, it's very interesting you bring this up, because I recently in my social media post I put this up.
All right, so I didn't see that, but
yes, I'll tell you. God, I wish I because my memory is terrible. But anyway, let me tell you roughly, okay? Because my dates, I can't tell you dates very easily off my mind. It was 1973 when, if you remember, Egypt, Syria, all of them. It was called the Yom Kippur War.
Yeah, Yom Kippur.
It was, I think, it was October 20.
Yes.
1973. Yes, October, probably 5th, 6th, 7th, around that time. The same time, okay, same day around this, what the Hamas did, right? At that time, the planetary chart for the world events was Pluto was adverse Moon's node. So it was making adverse angle to Moon's node. So Pluto making adverse angle to Moon's node. On October 7th, 2023, guess what aspect was around when Israel got attacked? Pluto, adverse, Moon's node. I put it in the chart, in the social media.
That I definitely knew on the 7th that the Pluto Moon was in
adverse. Moon's node was adverse.
Because see, I do read about little bit about these kind of things.
Yeah, I actually presented the actual charts in the social media. I've done lots, including, if you remember, the Friend star,
the guy,
Matthew Perry.
Matthew Perry.
Yeah, you see, Neptune, one of the attributes of Neptune is it creates disillusions, it creates intoxications, drug addictions. Neptune also runs our conscience and our purity, and it also rules water events.
Okay.
So if you look at Neptune, it was adverse when Titanic went down. But not only that, but people who died in the Titan, In Titanic, but one or two I did for Titanic. But you know the Titan that went afterwards to look at the Titanic recently.
Oh yes, yes.
June
yes.
2023.
Yes, the Canadian that.
3 of the 5 people, I did all the 5 people in the submersible, the
Right.
Titan. It was
Yeah.
called the Titan. 3 of those 5 people's charts I did. The 2 who were from Pakistan, unfortunately, their date of birth is not very
It's not correct,
easy
yeah.
to access. They just don't have an accurate one there. But the 3 gentlemen who passed away in that submersible, you should see the charts, how they were so similar to the day the Titanic went down.
Oh, God.
And Neptune adversity, water events, you know. So there's just too much. This is no coincidence. When something keeps on happening repeatedly, and every time you investigate an event and you find similar planets at play, and these are rare aspects. Like in the case of Israel, you know, Pluto adverse, moon's not, doesn't come often. Pluto is a very slow moving planet. And moon's not is not terribly fast either.
Yeah.
So for them to come to the same arrangement is amazing, and then Israel gets hit again.
Yeah.
So this is again Neptune, just an example of the Titanic. Again, I've done that I've done a full article, the Titanic and the Titan.
I didn't see it, but I just.
Well, I've done
just-
it in it's on my nareshgattani.com.
Yeah, so I just wanted to
Yeah.
like ask this question.
Yes.
It just happens to be come out of my brain.
Yeah.
Another thing I'll say, a lot of people, you know, like pundits. Now
Yes.
let's go to astrologers or pundits. You're not pundit. You're like a proper. You will do it
Well,
on computers. You know,
I just
so
enjoy doing it.
yeah, that is
I've
your
got no
hobby. So they
qualifications in it,
will say okay, if your Venus is low, you can wear this ring. If you you know,
Yes.
so they'll tell you Mercury's then
Yes.
Sun is not
Yes.
right. You wear this. You think those
I-
make a difference?
No, I don't believe. Yeah, it does. No, it's a placebo effect.
It is a placebo effect.
I personally don't believe in it. I personally don't believe in that. No.
But I don't believe it either. So that's the reason I'm
Yeah,
asking.
no,
because
it's
I
a
find
placebo effect.
it's too much money making and too much.
Yes,
I think
yes.
vulnerability, taking
I
people's
agree.
vulnerability.
I mean, the whole reason for writing this book is to to make sure that people don't, after reading the book, they will not be vulnerable.
Yeah, because I find even in UK, because okay,
Yes.
I was India, of course I can see vulnerability because maybe whatever reason,
Yes.
but in UK I find there's so much vulnerability that
Yes.
so many people are being used to
Yes.
spend hundreds of pounds just to
Yes.
get a
Yes. I mean, you see,
different stone.
in most of the times, these people are selling you, like we were talking about it before,
Yeah,
they sell you an intangible concept first.
of course.
They sell you, oh, you got this difficulty. Now, the person hasn't experienced the difficulty yet,
No.
but that difficulty is going to
It's
come,
put it
definitely.
in your brain.
It's put in your brain that it's going to come.
Yeah.
Now, if you want to prevent it, you need to wear the stone. Now, most of the time, the difficulty wouldn't have come anyway. Even if you wore the stone or you didn't wear the stone, it would not have come. So this is why to be honest, I don't like looking into the future from that point of view.
Yes.
I like to look at an event to understand what was at play when somebody like a president of America, and personally a much loved president like John F. Kennedy, gets assassinated brutally.
Of course.
You want to see what was behind this. How come he got caught up in this? Yeah. So and there are answers. We may not agree that the planets caused it or act of God. We may not agree on that, but we do agree that violence was involved.
But the planetary
Right.
positions, I believe, in
Yeah.
everybody's, it does make a difference because
Yes.
I find, I'm very much interested the new moon and when is what's happening and
Yes.
when Mercury is going reverse. I do
Yes.
keep a
Good.
tab of
Yeah, you
that.
tab on it. Yeah.
And I see, because I talk with students, I
Yes.
see their moods changing,
Yes.
their behaviors changing that
Yes.
point in time.
Yes. Yes.
So that's because some of them become very
Yes.
emotional with moons changing, and I say to them,
Yes.
"Oh, don't please, because
Yes.
it shouldn't make a difference." So I
Yes.
see that, and that's the
Yes.
reason I keep a tab of it, so I can say to them, "Hey, look,
Yes.
just be
Yes.
yourself, and you don't have to."
Yes, I think you're right. I mean, we are controlled by the attributes.
Yeah.
Now, whether it's a planets that are controlling the attributes, or randomly the attributes, or our environment is controlling the attributes, we will never be able to answer.
Yeah.
To an extent, there are certain things we can experiment. Astrology, the planets, we can experiment because there's not a single person in the world who will disagree with the position of the planets. Nobody disputes where the planets are.
Yeah, of course.
Everybody agrees that the planets are where they are, where we say they are. So there's no dispute there. So you can do research now, you see,
Yeah.
because there's a consistent data. So you can do research on the data. But if somebody wants to research, did God have a hand in that? You can't set up a laboratory for
that
that. Yeah,
the
goat
point.
cannot be reproduced in a laboratory. So you see, they're hard to do research on that.
So Naresh, once you have
Yeah.
written this book, then we're gonna
Sure.
talk about the planets. Then we're gonna come one day again talk about the heart
Yes,
as well.
sure, of course.
So this book, it's available on Amazon
Yes. All my 3 books are on Amazon
and on Kindle.
and on Kindle as
And
well.
on Kindle.
Yes,
So,
yes.
so you can get this book.
It's get the name right, and so it'll come up in a
It's
search.
called
Naresh.
How Planets Affect Our Lives, and Naresh Gattani.
Yeah, even Naresh Gattani will bring up the
And
books.
we will, this is available on Amazon, and अगर आपको Kindle पे है तो then Kindle पे ले सकते हैं. But read it so that then you don't waste your money going to pundits and telling you कि रूबी पहनो, पन्ना पहनो, ये पहनो. Don't, because it doesn't make a pinch of a difference. मैं rings नहीं पहनती. नरेश जिसने बुक लिखी वो रिंग्स नहीं पहनता है. So that means that it doesn't make a pinch of a difference. So Naresh, as a going remark, would you want to say something to the viewers?
Well, yes, I hope you take the opportunity to look into the planets. It doesn't have to be my book, but definitely look into it, because it's a very interesting matter, and you'll see the significance actually when you really look at it closely. I give you the opportunity. I present the data for you, so you don't have to take the trouble of collecting all the data. I present it for you. So if you have the opportunity to get the book, please do. It'll change your life in many ways. It'll change how you look at past bereavements. You will actually get insights into what the happy days were and why they were happy days. And by the same token, you'll know why some days were sad days, tragic days. We all go through events that were tragic in our lives at some point in time. So you'll understand the events better when you know when planets are at play. That's all I would say. Yeah, please look into it. It'll expand your consciousness. You will actually understand life a bit better.
Thank you, Naresh. Thank you for coming on the channel.
Thank you.
I actually like people like Naresh, because what happens is he's not professionally an astrologer. He's not professionally looking into planets. It's his hobby. It's his passion. And his profession was totally different, which we talked about it. So that's mean he's not telling you any andhvishwas, or he's not trying to any superstitions at all. Okay, so I'm gonna say goodbye to you now. Please subscribe to the channel, and if you want me to interview somebody else who you think that topic will be interesting to you guys, do write to me. Take care of your notes. Bye bye.